Women never forget a man who does this one thing. Female psychology. You think the reason she lost interest is because you weren't attentive enough, but the truth is you were too available, and availability without value is invisible. Let that land for a second. You gave her everything she asked for. You showed up when she called. You bent your schedule around hers. You answered every message within minutes. You were there, fully, completely, almost desperately there. And somehow, despite all of that, she started pulling away. She got quieter. The warmth disappeared. The spark that was there in the beginning slowly, almost cruelly, faded. And you're standing there asking yourself what you did wrong, running through the list, wondering if you should have said something different, done something different, been something different. Here's what you actually did wrong. You disappeared while being fully present. If that doesn't make sense yet, stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't the comfortable version. It's not the version that lets you off the hook. It's the version that actually changes things. And if you're the kind of man who wants real answers instead of easy ones, then this is exactly the video you need to watch all the way through. And before we go any further, if this channel is giving you the kind of clarity you haven't been getting elsewhere, hit subscribe right now. Not for me, for you. Because the truth has a way of fading when you don't have consistent reminders. And you're going to want to come back to this kind of thinking when life gets loud and confusing again. Now, let's get into it. Here's the thesis, plain and simple. The one thing women never forget about a man is whether or not he had a relationship with himself that mattered more than his relationship with her approval. That's it. That's the whole game. And everything else, the compliments, the gestures, the consistency, the effort, all of it either amplifies that quality or collapses without it. Let me build this out so you can actually see it working in your own life. The misconception first. Most men are taught, directly or indirectly, that the way to win a woman is through investment. Give more, try harder, show her you care, be consistent, be present, be devoted. And there's a kernel of truth in that. Real relationships do require investment, devotion, consistency. But here's where the logic breaks down. Most men apply all of that investment before they've built anything worth investing in. They give from a place of wanting to be chosen rather than from a place of being someone. And that distinction, that subtle but devastating distinction, is the entire difference between a man who attracts and a man who chases. Now the hard truth. Women at a biological, instinctual, psychological level are wired to test for value, not because they're cruel, not because they're playing games, but because they are designed, like every other human being on the planet, to seek out the highest quality mate available to them. And value, real value, the kind that registers in the gut, not just the mind, is never communicated through words alone. It's communicated through behavior, through pattern, through the way a man moves through the world when nobody is watching him, when there's nothing to prove, when the option to impress isn't even on the table. A woman doesn't fall in love with what you tell her about yourself. She falls in love with what she observes about you over time. And what most men don't realize is that the very behaviors they think are showing love are actually signaling the opposite of what they intend. When you drop everything for her every single time, without conditions, without boundaries, without a life that exists outside of her, you are not communicating devotion. You are communicating need. You are communicating that she is the source. And no psychologically healthy woman wants to be the source. She wants to orbit something. She wants to be near something that is already burning. Let me say that again because it is worth hearing twice. She does not want to be your sun. She wants to be in the gravitational pull of yours. Now let's go to the root cause. Because understanding the why is the only way to actually change the behavior and not just white-knuckle your way through surface adjustments. Most men overinvest emotionally in women not because they're weak, but because they were never given permission to have a self that came first. They were taught that wanting things for themselves was selfish, that having standards was arrogance, that needing alone time or maintaining friendships or prioritizing a personal mission meant they didn't care enough about the relationship. And so they slowly, generation by generation, learned to hollow themselves out in service of someone else's comfort. They became accommodating, they became easy, they became available, and they called it love, when really it was a form of self-abandonment dressed up in romantic language. That's not love. That's a transaction, and the currency is self-respect. Here's what it costs you, and I want you to hear this not as a warning about her, but as a warning about you. When you build your sense of worth around her reaction to you, you stop growing, you stop taking risks, you stop making hard decisions. You stop pursuing the things that make you feel alive because you're too busy monitoring her mood, interpreting her texts, reading energy that you shouldn't need to read. You stop being the author of your own life and become a supporting character in hers. And ironically, tragically, the thing you were afraid of, losing her, becomes the inevitable outcome of the very behavior you used, trying to prevent it. You abandon yourself to keep her. And she leaves because you abandoned yourself. That's not a punishment. That's just physics. Energy flows towards substance. Attention moves towards strength. Attraction doesn't negotiate with desperation. Now let me give you the reframe, and this is where everything shifts. The man that women cannot forget is not the man who gave the most. He's not the man who tried the hardest. He is the man who was already somebody before she arrived, and who remained somebody after she left. He is the man who brought her into a life, not a man who built his life around her arrival. Picture this man. I want you to actually see him. He wakes up in the morning and his first thought is not about her. His first thought is about the thing he is building, the thing he is working toward, the standard he holds himself to when no one is looking. He has a mission. It doesn't matter what it is, a business, a craft, a fitness goal, a creative pursuit. What matters is that it is his, it is real, and it demands something from him. That demand is what shapes him. That discipline is what defines him. He is not cold. He is not emotionally unavailable in the broken, avoidant sense. He is warm when warmth is earned. He is present when presence is chosen, not coerced. He gives because he chooses to give, not because he is afraid of what will happen if he doesn't. There is a fundamental difference between generosity and appeasement. This man knows the difference. He lives the difference. And everyone around him feels the difference without being able to put it into words. He has boundaries, not walls, not cruelty, not indifference, but boundaries. He knows what he will accept and what he will not. He communicates those standards not through confrontation, but through behavior. He doesn't argue about respect. He models what respect looks like, and he requires it by the simple act of not accepting its absence. When something is wrong, he addresses it. When something is unacceptable, he leaves or he stays. But he does so on his terms, with clarity, without punishment, without drama. This man does not chase, not because he is playing hard to get, that's a performance, and performances always collapse. He doesn't chase because he genuinely, at the level of his core identity, does not experience himself as someone who needs to chase. He is not suppressing the urge. The urge isn't there because he has built something inside himself that is more compelling to him than any external validation could ever be. And this right here is what she cannot forget. Not the flowers, not the grand gestures, not the perfect thing he said on the perfect night. She cannot forget the feeling of being around someone who was entirely, unapologetically, non-performatively himself. Someone who made her feel, without a single word on the topic, that her approval was appreciated but not required. Someone who looked at her fully, saw her clearly, and then kept walking in his own direction. Someone who invited her along but never begged her to stay. That feeling is addictive, not in a toxic way, in the truest, deepest way, because it is rare, because most people, men and women, are running some kind of approval-seeking program underneath their behavior. They are all quietly asking to be chosen. And then there is this man who is not asking, who is choosing, who has already chosen himself and is simply being generous enough to let her be part of that. Women don't talk about this consciously usually. They will tell you they want kindness, communication, emotional availability, and those things are all true and all real. But underneath those stated preferences is a much older and more powerful signal they're reading for. They want to know, is this man in his own center or is he in mine? Is he standing on solid ground or is he standing on my approval? And the moment they sense, even subconsciously, that you are standing on their approval, something inside them shifts. It doesn't mean they stop caring. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It means that the weight of being someone's foundation is too heavy to sustain and still feel free. She does not want to be your therapist. She does not want to be your mother. She does not want to be the reason you feel okay about yourself. She wants to be the woman beside a man who already feels okay, who then makes that man feel extraordinary because of what she adds, not because of what she holds up. Now let's talk about what to actually do, because understanding this intellectually is worthless without application. And I'm not going to give you a 7-step system with acronyms. I'm going to give you the raw behavioral shifts that actually change the pattern. Stop performing interest and start having interests. If the most compelling thing in your life right now is her, that is the problem. Not because she isn't wonderful, but because a single point of meaning is a single point of failure. Get back to the things that make you difficult to define. Read, train, build, create, not to impress her. For yourself. Because a man with a rich interior life does not need to manufacture mystery. He is genuinely mysterious because he is genuinely deep. Stop answering instantly and start responding intentionally. This is not a game. This is not a manipulation tactic. This is just the practice of having a life that you actually live, rather than a phone you endlessly monitor. When you respond to her messages the moment they arrive, every single time, without exception, you are training both of you to understand that she is the center of your attention field. Over time, that trains you to need her responses as well. You become locked in a loop of mutual anxious monitoring. Break it. Have a life. Respond when you're done doing the thing you were doing. Stop apologizing for your standards. When something doesn't work for you, say so. Calmly, clearly, without aggression, without explanation, without a 20-minute justification. You don't need to justify your preferences to anyone. You simply need to state them and hold them. A man who explains his every preference endlessly is a man who doesn't trust his own preferences. Trust yours. State them once. Then let the other person decide what they want to do with that information. Stop building your emotional world inside someone else's reaction. This is the deepest one. This is the one that takes the most work and delivers the most freedom. Your mood cannot be hostage to her mood. Your confidence cannot be collateral for her validation. Your sense of self cannot exist only in her eyes. You need to have an internal source of stability that persists, regardless of how any external relationship is going. That requires practice. It requires stillness. It requires probably some solitude and some honest self-confrontation. But it is the foundation of everything else. Without it, nothing else works. With it, everything else follows naturally. Redirect your energy toward your mission daily, non-negotiably. I don't mean dramatically. I don't mean make a show of it. I don't mean announce it. I mean quietly, consistently, every single day. Spend the first meaningful hours of your day on something that is yours. Something that is building toward the man you intend to be. This is not selfishness. This is maintenance. This is the daily practice of staying inside your own center so that when you go toward her, you go from fullness and not from hunger. Now, here is the final truth I want to leave you with. And this is not inspiration for the sake of feeling good. This is just accurate. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not the man who got it wrong and now has to spend the rest of his life overcompensating or trying to undo damage. You are a man who was handed a set of beliefs about himself and about relationships that did not serve him. And now, today, you are in the process of exchanging those beliefs for ones that do. The man who women cannot forget is not a mythological creature. He is not born. He is built. He is built through repetition, through discipline, through the slow and often uncomfortable practice of choosing himself first. Not because others don't matter, but because you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot be a source for anyone if you are not first a source for yourself. She will feel the difference. Not because you told her you changed, not because you made a grand announcement. She will feel it the way you feel temperature change, gradually, then undeniably. And whether she is in your life or not, whether this is about someone specific or about the next woman who will be watching you from across a room wondering what kind of man you are, the answer will be clear. Not because you performed it, because you became it. You are not looking for the right person. You are becoming the right person. And that is the only pursuit that compounds. Everything else is borrowed time. You are the answer to the question you've been asking. Now, if this landed, if something in here shifted something in you, subscribe to this channel right now. Not because I need the numbers, but because you are going to need this kind of clarity again. Life will get complicated. You will slip back into old patterns. You will have a moment where you're about to abandon yourself for someone's approval, and you will need a voice that brings you back to this. Let this channel be that voice. And if you are already subscribed, drop a comment below. Tell me what hit you. Tell me where you're at. Because this isn't just a channel. It's a space for men who are serious about becoming who they're capable of being. You belong here.